Shrink the Nation is a podcast for thoughtful, informed adults, preferably with a pour in hand. The views and opinions expressed on the show are those of the hosts and guests only, and do not reflect the views of any employers, institutions, licensing boards, government agencies, bourbon distilleries, or family members, especially our family members. They've asked us to be very clear about that. This show is for informational and entertainment purposes only. Nothing said here should be taken as medical, psychiatric, legal, or professional advice. If you're in crisis, call a professional. If you're mad at something we said, we suggest journaling or emailing us with civility. We're here to challenge ideas, not diagnose strangers. We're clinicians, not your clinicians, and we have the bourbon to prove it. Let's go. And we're back. We're here again. Thanks for joining us.
Same bat channel, same bat time.
Exactly. Actually, we might be on a new time, but same thing. Every 4 years, Americans put presidents on a mythical pedestal, expecting a superhero, saint, and savior rolled into one. Then we wonder why they disappoint. Welcome to Shrink the Nation, where we unpack the psychic chaos behind those expectations. That is my intro.
Wow.
I did it.
Wow.
Hey, yeah.
That's
I could probably do it better, but
yeah. Setting the bar high. Well, tell us about your bourbon first.
First, we'll do our introductions. Okay,
Yeah.
So I'm David. I'm a dual board certified psychiatrist. I've got 20 plus years in the military. I am the tech geek. I love them damn spreadsheets so much.
You do.
I dream about them. Love them. I can type fast. I enjoy the interwebs. Today, I'm pouring a Trade Water Kentucky Straight Sour Mash Bourbon Whiskey. What I found, because I was chastised for not taking the time to look this up last time, so it's the Barton 1792 distillery. I went ahead and figured this out. They are located in Bardstown, Kentucky. I'm sure I said that wrong. It's probably...
Beautiful Bardstown.
Was I right? It's Bardstown. Have you been there?
No.
You have? Okay, well, I figured maybe you're probably close by.
I've toured around Kentucky quite a lot, yes, but never to Bardstown.
Beautiful. Kentucky is beautiful. It really is.
It's gorgeous.
I love those gorgeous green rolling hills.
Yeah.
Lovely country. This particular bourbon is named after the trade water that played a crucial role in the bourbon industry's expansion by allowing them to transport barrels to Nolans. Back and beyond. Nolans. It's tasted just like most bourbons. As we go along, I'm sure we'll taste even better as they have so far. I've enjoyed it. I still extend my invitation to any distilleries out there that would share with us,
send us your
and
bourbon.
Have a sample. If you want the cheapest advertisement you could possibly get, which would just be a couple of bottles of bourbon, we will gladly drink.
Yeah, we're cheap dates, no doubt. All right, well, I'm Rob, 25 years as a psychiatrist, board certified. Just got bullet bourbon. I think you're proving my point in that bourbons are bourbons. The big distinguishing factor in my mind is whether it's a wheated bourbon or a rye bourbon. One's a little spicier. So probably no one will ever pay me to advertise theirs because I'll be like, yeah, it's bourbon.
You're killing the vibe on the bourbon. I'm trying to get a distillery to... I love bourbon.
Right.
We will praise the bourbon. You send us the bourbon, we will try the bourbon. If it's good bourbon, I mean, here's the thing. We will praise it if it's good. So if your distillery has good bourbon and you want to send it to us, by all means, send us amazing bourbon and we will give it high praise. Send us bad bourbon and we'll try it. We will, but have some pride in yourself. Give us the good stuff, right? Don't send us bottom shelf, under the shelf, behind the shelf.
I really feel like we're making connections right now. I just the whole caliber of the conversation they're just lining up to work with us. Absolutely.
I mean, who wouldn't want the tens of listeners to hear about the bourbon? That's why everyone tunes in, right? Is to hear about the bourbon.
Absolutely. I'm sure they do.
Okay, let's get to what we're here talking about. I didn't say it, but I alluded to it. And if you read the title or description, then I'm sure you will come across the term projection, which is what we're talking about today.
Yeah.
This will be, to some, one of the more controversial topics to date that we will have talked about. It really isn't. We're going to talk about projection in politics, specifically what we place on our leaders, because it's a really interesting topic. We're going to go pretty deep and have a good conversation. I'll preface all this. I'm not here to tell you who to like or dislike or anything else. I'm going to call out all the leaders. I'm going to call out all the followers. I mean, the truth is we all do this. This is what projection is. First, we need to start off with what the hell is projection? Why am I using this? We had those TVs back in the day, movie theaters, right? We know what that kind of projection is, but what are we talking about, Rob? What is projection?
Well, it is a concept that was gifted to us from the brilliant mind of Sigmund Freud. He introduced it.
The coked out, brilliant mind
He may have been.
of Sigmund Freud.
Right. He may have been when he was developing the concept of psychoanalysis. He felt that the job of the therapist was to be a blank screen onto which patients projected their hopes, dreams, fears, inadequacies, etc. And most of that work ended up being interpreting the projection. So if the therapist was sufficiently bland and blank, and in fact, I mean, by the way he set things up, they didn't even look at the therapist. The therapist sat kind of behind them. They laid on a chaise lounge, and the therapist's job was to identify when there was an emotional experience toward them and then interpret that. So in simplest terms, it's taking something that is inside, an emotion, a feeling, a hope, a dream, something you feel negative about, and seeing it on other people. And a good example of that is say you're concerned that you're a little too lazy at work. One of the defenses to that, if that's something that's creating anxiety for you, would be to see laziness in other people. So you're projecting that concern onto someone else, and you can be frustrated with them, angry with them, etc., but you don't take ownership of it yourself, of the thing that you're feeling. Probably for most people, the best example, though, because projection can be positive, it can be negative. We most intensely probably project upon our romantic relationships, our significant others. So early in a relationship, it's really common that people will see what they hope to see in the other person. So they want to see perfection. They want to see the solution to all their problems. And they will see that person as being perfect. And then, of course, the other person loves that feeling. Anyone who's been in an early relationship and you're receiving lots of positive projection, it makes you feel like $1,000,000, literally. You feel great and powerful and sexy and smart and gallant and all the positive things. But then as time passes and reality sets in, those projections become very heavy. And you can see not only will you see disappointment in the person that was projecting, you will see frustration in the person that is being projected upon, because the weight of perfection is heavy and people can't carry it forever. So that's what we're talking about. That analogy is the most apt one. Every 4 years, we fall in love with leaders, and then we set about falling out of love with them over time. And I concur with you. I think that there is a high possibility that people who might listen in on this are tens of listeners. It could stimulate some discomfort. And my opening comment here is that if you think or feel particularly angry about this, then you might be the person we're actually talking to. You might be engaged in projection, but let's work our way through it and see what happens.
Yeah, absolutely. A key point to projection is that it's not intentional. It is very much unconscious. It's something we are all prone to do, especially when we're having, as you pointed out, anxieties, hope, frustration. Whenever there's a new relationship, new situation, we're trying to understand a situation and we're really trying to make it work for us. We're trying to project what we think it's going to be. The way that Freud would use this to his advantage, the way that as a therapist we think about it being that blank slate, was the therapist being in that role of, I will be whatever you need me to be so that you can play out whatever pathology needs to happen so that we can see it and work on it.
Yes.
What I think is really interesting is that another way to understand it, at least another way that I understand it, because there's nothing really magic to that. We go into any situation that is new or novel to us by trying to take the experiences of the past and piece together what we expect that situation to be. And if we don't have a really clear idea of what that's going to look like, we are going to take those other experiences and make that the thing. So with like relationships, you might project, if it's like a first romantic relationship, you might project what you have seen other people do, like your parents, things that you've seen in media, television, whatever. I can distinctly remember growing up in the age of the sitcom. I'll give an example of Seinfeld. And it was like every week he would have a new girlfriend, which was just cameos, just a way to bring in new girls. When I was young, it didn't occur to me that was not a normal thing. It just seemed like, well, that would just be normal, that if something silly would happen, that you would just kind of break up. But you would also expect that, like a relationship would just go south really quickly. And that was a projection that I was just piecing together in my own mind what I had been watching since I was little, because I was a latchkey kid, throwback to our last episode, and I watched a lot of TV.
As a general rule, I do not think I would advise basing one's life after Seinfeld. Just seemed bad decision making,
I
Dave.
agree. To be honest with you, I think I was in my mid to late 20s when it finally occurred to me how horrible of people they were. I
Terrible.
didn't realize what narcissistic, awful people they were. They were the protagonists of the show. And growing up, I thought, this is just normal human behavior. And it was totally normal. It
Well,
wasn't until going back and watching it when I was a bit older that I realized how apropos the final episode really was. Because when I was a kid, I was really bummed out by the last episode being what it was. But I was like, why would they lock up these amazingly wonderful people? And, that's another story for another day. But you don't have all the pieces and you're just trying to put together this puzzle. That's projection. In so many words, you're trying to fill in the gaps of what you think is going to happen, because we're just trying to predict the future. There's a lot of pitfalls to that.
there is. Seinfeld actually provides excellent examples of projection. Jerry and his girlfriends, there was a kind of a running gag in the show that he would find something wrong, minute, something, man hands, whatever. He'd find something wrong, and at least approaching it from a psychodynamic standpoint, ultimately Jerry had a little bit of a narcissistic character structure. Fundamentally, folks with that do tend to have a lot of unconscious concerns about themselves, and he cast those out onto the world. He found imperfections before that they found the imperfections in him. Seinfeld's a great example of projection. Fits beautifully.
Glad you turned that around for me.
It does. It fits beautifully. Now, I would argue that what you're describing certainly is part of projection, but then there's also that there's an emotional content. For example, in relationships, when someone's feeling angry but doesn't want to admit it, they often will see anger in their spouse. So, how many arguments have happened across this great nation of ours when someone starts the conversation with, "Why are you so angry?" when in fact they're the ones feeling irritable or whatever, and they just see it in other people. Frequently also, another example, and then I think we've killed the examples and we'll move on to the national scene, is folks who expect to be rejected will see rejection all around them. They project that out because that's their expectation. That's how the world works for them, or they expect it to work. So they see it and can become incensed by it. The other person will be caught off guard. They're not thinking of rejection. Unfortunately, and something that I think plays into politics too, is it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. If the expectation is I'm going to be rejected, I see rejection in everyone, I'm going to behave in a way, ultimately, that gets me rejected.
And that's called projective identification,
Mm-hmm.
what you just described. There actually is a really great cultural reference that kind of speaks to what you're talking about that I always think of whenever I come across somebody who gets really upset when they're around somebody else who they're projecting their own insecurities on. You'll find somebody who has that kind of internalized flaw that they know about and they feel like they're doing such a wonderful job hiding it. But then they come across another human being who has that trait, and it's just a seething anger that they have towards that person because they think they are hiding it so well. How dare this other person be out there in public outing us all so easily? And it just reminds me of this Family Guy cutscene where it's just going past these soldiers in Vietnam, just one by one. And then you get to Peter, and he's dressed like a clown behind them all. And he's like, you guys are all idiots. They're going to be looking for soldiers.
Another show I would not recommend basing one's life off of.
I would probably recommend not basing your life on any show.
Probably not.
Except for ours.
Indeed. If you're going to base your life on something, it should be this.
God, no, don't base your life on our show. Please don't.
No.
We might be fun to listen to for mom and dad, but everyone else, don't.
Well, we're eh,
Please
we're
don't.
we're kind of
They
like
should.
bourbon. It's an acquired taste. You got to work at it.
It really, well, have a couple bourbons and we might be more interesting. We've talked about relationships. We talked about projection. I do want to start to ease our listeners into the chilly water that is the presidencies. Let's talk about projection and some of the pitfalls. Let's go back to where I hope very few people will get too upset. We'll start with FDR. If you're getting upset about FDR, turn your hearing aid down
Yeah,
for just a couple of minutes.
no doubt. We do not want to get you too upset. You may die.
Yeah, just chill out. But no, going back, so the pitfalls of projection, especially for the presidency, you have this person, people, they're projecting so much hopes, dreams, expectations, positivity, and negativity. There's this messianic love and this like antichrist hate directed towards this person. And if we go back to FDR
Yikes! That was evocative. Please continue.
during an election, that can be the level of projection that can be placed upon somebody who's trying to get your vote. Their campaign is saying, trust me to be the leader of the free world. And it's a tall order.
Yeah.
But for FDR, the situation that he was coming into was dire. There was the Great Depression. He was supposed to be the savior to pull everybody out. The challenge of that level of love and expectation is that it's impossible to live up to that standard. Now, I guess on the flip side is that if there's that level of hatred towards that person, it's also impossible to be as awful and evil as everyone on the other side wants you to be. The issues that FDR was facing were great, right? You were there, Robbie.
I was a young man, but yeah, still in short pants at the time.
Okay. There was a confident optimism that led many to view him as a national savior. There were families who actually hung his portrait on their walls like he was a revered family patriarch. There was this personal quasi-religious faith that was placed in him. And a lot of people did feel as though he was the only one who would understand their plight. There was a reason that he was afforded 4 terms, but there was also a lot of pushback. There was a lot of backlash on him when the reality was falling short of those dreams. There were a lot of grumblings on the left that he really hadn't gone far enough. There were a lot of grumblings on the right that he'd gone too far. He was actually dubbed a, quote, traitor to his class, which was meant as a praise for him for siding with the poor. But he was also criticized by verging on dictatorial. This was probably the first time we have a really good example of president who was held to that high kind of mythic expectation that we can really go back and talk about. Did this happen before that?
To a
Almost
degree.
certainly.
To a degree,
Yeah.
I do think media, even though what was available, his fireside chats and the like, he could reach out and touch people in a different way to achieve the level of projection that I think it has become the norm. And certainly, my life only goes back to around FDR. I was in short pants. I don't even know. I assume that's just shorts. I don't know.
Short.
It feels like something that you would
You would go to the gym in a singlet with your
exactly.
handlebar mustache
I
and
well,
lift.
I had
Just
that.
lift.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
A great
came,
Family
they're like
Guy
1930.
skit. Yeah. I did 1930s style boxing,
Yeah,
but
fisticuffs.
the fisticuffs,
You would join fisticuffs with.
all the nostalgia of my youth. But yeah, so he had access to the media, probably escalated the amount of projection. And I mean, the story of politics, at least in the modern era, is the power and the weight of projection that each party uses projection. You can see it virtually every Sunday on the TV news shows,
On the moving picture box.
on the moving
Grandpa?
picture box. Yeah. So you can see it. It's constantly at work. It's as good a starting point as any. Parties utilize positive projection to achieve office, and then they have to deal with the weight of that projection. And it is a rare, rare, rare politician, a rare leader who can maintain that throughout their tenure.
There's an interesting mythology around JFK a little bit. With John F. Kennedy, his presidency was nicknamed Camelot after he was assassinated. It was Jackie Kennedy who coined that phrase. She acknowledged sort of indirectly that was kind of a reference to the musical Camelot, which is more of a story of the failed idealism
Uh-huh.
of a leader who couldn't prevent the utopia from collapsing.
I've never heard that. I did realize that Camelot was, he's an interesting figure in that he died before the weight of projection had caught up to him. I would argue that Jackie Kennedy was probably not living the perfection of Camelot being married to him. It sounds like it behind the scenes was a bit of a shit show. Certainly not good for her. Now, here's a fascinating little factoid about John F. Kennedy, and this is directly relevant to mental health. So he had an older sister, or his older sister had epilepsy, schizoaffective disorder, something. And she spent a lot of time in psychiatric facilities, sanitariums, using the parlance of the times. The Kennedys were very involved in mental health and reforming the mental health system. And 1 week prior to him being assassinated, the Community Mental Health Act of 1963, which he championed, was signed into law. People think that he was assassinated by
Lee Harvey Oswald.
Lee Harvey Oswald. Thank you. Gosh, my 90 years is really showing. Anyway, Lee Harvey Oswald. I argue that it was
You don't look a day over 80.
right. I argue it was big mental health, because the Community Mental Health Act really altered the trajectory of mental health treatment in the nation to this day. 1955, 150,000 psychiatric beds across the nation. There were 37,000 psychiatric beds across the country. It has had longstanding ramifications. That is a divergence from our topic. I don't even know how we got there, but you brought him up. But he did die before projection ended, and for many, many years, maybe to the present, he's fondly remembered because he just didn't stick around long enough to fail.
Interestingly, there were several, at least not successes, during his presidency.
Bay of Pigs?
Exactly.
Marilyn Monroe?
It's not as if he was with, yeah. Well, was that a failure?
She died.
I mean, she did, but
Hey,
I'm just saying, like,
I suppose
everyone dies. Come on.
It's all perspective. Why don't you go ahead and sing the Marilyn Monroe version of Happy Birthday, Mr. President?
I think that's copyrighted.
Is it?
I don't think we can use it.
All breathy and whatever.
You'd like that, wouldn't you?
Yeah. No, he had failures. He certainly was not a perfect figure, and he made some
Everyone has
calls.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Yeah. And you're right. He didn't have time to see them through. You could make the argument, and I think Lyndon Johnson did, that expectations of him were so high because of the projections onto JFK that even he felt the weight, as if people wanted magic from him that just could not be accomplished.
And he backed out.
Yeah, he didn't even run again when he certainly was able to. He and Jumbo. Are you not familiar with that reference?
Mm-mm.
Got a podcast for you.
Okay.
All right.
He's actually a fascinating character. Maybe one day we can just talk about the mental illness in the presidents. But yeah.
Just a shout out to Dan Cummins' Time Suck. He did a one on Lyndon B. Johnson and Jumbo. Oh yeah.
He became, I have to listen for it or listen to it. He became utterly obsessed by water pressure and temperature.
It has a lot to do with what I just said.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I mean, I think the guy was just breaking up under the pressure, and I'm going to hand it to him for knowing when to cry uncle. I'm out.
We're going to move into more modern times. We have maybe the next era where you had a presidential candidate where there was a lot of projection. There was a lot of, dare I say, hope.
I see what you did there.
Foreshadowing, yeah. But you had
the audacity. The audacity of...
That's right. In 2008, there were explicit comparisons made between him and JFK and even FDR in terms of that level of public hope. And the truth is, his campaign consciously worked off of that. There were the posters, the big imagery. Now, during a speech said, I'm bound to disappoint some of you, many of you. So he was aware of that. But that is something that is going to happen when you place so much onto a single person.
The weight of the projection, the weight of our expectations. I mean, you're taking 330 million people's expectations, and it is becoming a pinpoint on this one individual. And yes, they have a significant support staff, but it is infinitely, I mean,
But
you and I, the weight of the projections of our children are often too much to carry, to live up to. The weight of the projections of our family, too much to live up to. I cannot even imagine the carrying the weight of the United States on my shoulders. And that's across the board, irrespective of your political party, irrespective of whether I agree with you or disagree with you, whether I voted for you or didn't. I have a great deal of empathy for those in that position.
yeah, that's why I sit in the garage and drink
That's healthy, you know.
and talk to my friends.
Yeah. Well, I'm doing no harm, so, except to
It's
my
just too much weight. The
to right
projection
to my liver,
of the
maybe, but
yeah, no.
it'd be better if you were in a basement. But the garage is pretty good. That's actually pretty good. They make me go outside. Go to the garage, Dad. That's nice.
That's right. You
Yeah.
just can't live up to your projections.
Hmm.
And it is a ton. I mean, there's a reason that when you look at how a presidential candidate looks before the first term and then how they look 4 years later,
It's crazy.
they're just ragged.
Yeah.
Just
Wrecked, man.
they look like you after a night of Old Crow.
Right. It's when I peek around that dumpster for the first time in the morning. That's what they look like. Where am I?
Something stuck in your hair.
Yeah.
What is that smell? And you
Oh,
realize
it's
it's
me.
you.
It's me.
It's me.
That's my
That's
breath. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I feel
we'll
for
have an
him.
Old Crow show.
We're going to have an
Really.
Old Crow show, and we'll regale everyone with the history of Old Crow, which is really impressive. It's the story of America. America. But
All right.
it is a lot. It is, I think an argument could be made that maybe it's a bigger role than a single person can hold up.
I think that is the argument, is that not only is it more than a single person can hold up, obviously the projections of and the expectations on a president are not realistic because a president can't do all of the things that the president claims to, or at least the candidate says they will do.
Mm-hmm.
Because our system is full of checks and balances specifically to make sure that the president can't do all of the things that the candidate says they're going to do because we have a president, not a monarch. That's
Absolutely
the whole point of democracy, is that we have a person who gets to make a lot of decisions, but we have a huge country. We couldn't possibly want one person to make all of the decisions. That would be a nightmare.
It would be
To have
insane.
one person.
Well, and in a well-functioning nation structured as ours, the president makes a lot of promises, and they're capitalizing upon projection. They're capitalizing on the hopes and dreams, angers, fears of the population in order to get into office. And they make promises. They're promises that they really do have zero ability to affect, because ultimately it's the legislature that passes most of these laws and establishes a budget and all the things. Maybe this has always been the case. Again, not a historian, as the Haitians taught us. But what I can say is that as we have moved into a more media-driven environment, that those kinds of promises are become the norm, and it has ended up paralyzing both sides, both the executive branch and the legislative branch. Nothing happens now because the promises are so big, they can't accomplish them. They just can't. There's always going to be the checks and balances. And I know people get frustrated with checks and balances. I know they do. They want to feel like stuff's happening. And instead, we exist in this anaric climate in which it feels like nothing ever changes. But it's that way for a reason. That big things are dangerous things. And if huge change happens at once, it is as apt to have downstream consequences, second and third order effects that we can't anticipate. So it is supposed to be. And there's supposed to be a party that opposes. And they're supposed to move slowly. We don't like slow anymore, man. We like high tempo TikTok dances.
You brought up a couple of points. I want to talk about them. So one, the media environment, it fuels a lot of the projection. We start with FDR, obviously a very different media environment, but he was doing fireside chats. He was fueling his own projection in a lot of ways because he was connecting with people, at least through the radio, and he was talking to them in a way that never had happened before.
Right.
Then you did have JFK who was this handsome guy, I mean, he just was. He was charismatic, he was handsome. He
Ryan,
had
he was
he had a swimmer's
Ryan Reynolds,
build.
Reynolds dreamy. He
He was
was.
Ryan Reynolds. Yeah, he was
He
just
was David Cornsweat.
that's right. He was David Cornsweat of his day.
He was.
I but he was
Amazing
no,
peck.
and you had Jackie Kennedy, and you had, so people were just so much more engaged with that, and they felt so much more in touch and involved. Then you had Obama, who brought in this totally different media environment as well, a lot different than today.
Mm-hmm.
But where we have this really interesting twist now is this social media aspect. And we spoke about this before, where you almost feel like you know the person and you feel like you have this direct line to that office in a way that nobody has ever had before.
The president comes right to my phone, dude.
Yeah.
Every
But you
time.
will see people who will reach out directly to the president and say, hey, this thing is affecting me directly. Can you do something about it? With the full expectation, like, I voted for you. I love you. You're wonderful. Can you do something about this? And the expectation on that person's part, because that's the projection, is that he's going to listen and he's going to do something. And that is a strong amount of projection that wasn't available before that media environment existed. That's a big difference when he's not just on the television on one of the three channels every once in a while giving a State of the Union address. Sometimes he's in the newspaper. He's coming to your toilet seat on your phone as you're scrolling.
Don't do that,
Right?
folks. It's actually bad for your GI health. Don't sit on the toilet excessive amounts of time scrolling on your phone. I have a GI doc friend who likes to stress that. That's my public service announcement for the day.
Thank you. Yeah, that'll be there's your prescription for later.
Apparently, it's not good for your pelvic floor. Completely different
Right.
part of the body than we deal with.
Yeah,
And I'm going to
got
leave
to
it.
tell you,
I'm
I
going to leave.
purposefully, yeah, he can have the pelvic floor. I'm going to stick with
He can.
the mind. I don't even go with the brain. I just go with the mind.
Exactly.
That's my deal.
Exactly. If I start referencing the
That's what
brain,
I'm
then
looking
I have to actually be able to name its parts. Who wants to do that?
Yeah, prefrontal cortex, yes, like that.
Oh,
OPFC, yeah.
no.
Yeah.
There's memorization associated with that.
Yeah, we don't have
I
it.
don't
We
want
have
to go
things
that route.
like
I
the
couldn't.
little almond part. Yeah, that's all gross stuff.
Right.
Yeah, gross.
I couldn't even remember Lee
So-
Harvey Oswald.
That's true. Well, when you're born in the 30s,
I know.
we gotta give you some. We gotta cut you some slack.
It's been a long life.
And for the life of me, I cannot remember the other point that I was going to bring up.
No, you made. I think it's a lovely point, and what I am struck by is that we exist, our brains exist on a set of rules that worked forever. That if I had the kind of immediate connection with somebody, that was probably because they were right there in my life. And I could engage with them. If I had a problem, I could, like, I'm going to go back to the 1930s and, that Model T Ford that I had, and I needed somebody to fix a wheel, I could engage. What we're fooled into in many, many ways, and whether that's the relationships that we develop online or the pseudo connection that we feel from the presidency or from our federal leaders, it's false. And we just don't have that capacity to differentiate it, because through much of history, if you heard directly from someone, it's because they were sitting right next to you and they told you. We just don't have that. And it has to accentuate the projection. It has to. The difference being is we still feel like we have that connection, but because we're not there with them, we're not experiencing the real them, the projections probably are more durable because we're not getting immediately disappointed by the fact that they're actually an asshole that we don't like that much. So it may both accentuate and increase the durability of the projection.
And what you just said gets back to what I have been saying for a while, which is that
You're an asshole?
I think that, well, yes, but what I think it works
I've been saying that for years.
I think this kind of projection works for these generations that haven't developed those connections online. But I do think there's going to be that shift with these younger generations.
I hope so.
I believe you will see that will likely be the case,
I
that you will
I I
find
hope they become more savvy than we are. Yes.
they inevitably, they already are. We already know that they are more savvy online in many ways because they are exposed to it more in a younger age. Their ability to deal with it, we'll see. Obviously, I think they handle it differently,
Yeah.
but the technology will grow up around them as well. Like they're
I
going to grow up with it. It will grow up with them.
hope and pray. Thoughts and prayers.
And
Thoughts and prayers.
yeah,
Gen Z.
but
Thoughts and
one
prayers.
of the but yeah, but one of the key pieces that really makes that projection so much more, say, damaging is that a lot of people don't fully understand what the rules are.
No.
They don't quite get who is responsible for the different aspects of our economy, our laws. And as you said, we do have a legislature, we have a judiciary. Hell, we're part of a global economy that has a lot more to do with prices on different things than just one person. And so while one person can say, I can do X, Y, or Z, the reality is not really. And generally not in the time frames. And you talked about this before, that whoever is in power is typically not going to have a whole lot of effect by themselves
Mm.
in that time. Realistically, the Fed has a lot more to do with how our economy is going to fluctuate by their own input. But you still have businesses, wars, disasters, all these other factors that play in. And that's a lot of thinking. It's a lot of math that you just don't want to do or aren't aware of, or much simpler to blame or give credit to the one guy.
This actually distressed me to no end. My son never had a government class. They've done away with it. It is more challenging to become a US citizen. You have to learn the basics of how our government works. It's a baseline requirement to achieve citizen status. If you are born here, there is no requirement to understand government. And you're absolutely right. It's easy to project in ignorance. And I'm using ignorance as a lack of understanding, lack of knowledge, not a pejorative. It's not criticizing anyone or making a statement about intelligence. And I absolutely also understand people have lives and they have worries and they have things that keep them occupied, etc. But the way we approach citizenry, building the citizens of the future, and I have a very intelligent son, but I almost can guarantee if I go to him and say, tell me about the structure of the US government, he is unlikely to. Now, if I pose the question, he'll go research it. And within a day, he'll know more than I know because that's how his brain works. But, me being a 90 plus, it's harder for me to learn things.
I remember hearing stories from somebody who was born after you in 1945,
Mhm.
where years after you were born, but born in 1945.
Bacon and
And
bourbon is the secret to my long life, by the way.
there you go. Yeah. So he used to tell me about growing up, distinctly remembered when Sputnik launched, how he remembers he seemingly the day before. I mean, he was young. He was younger. I think he was like in fifth grade. He remembers going to school before it launched. And then afterwards, there was this massive push to really educate the country. And he said, all of a sudden, we had this college professor teaching our math class.
Yeah.
And it was just all of a sudden, deer in the headlights for us. It was so profound, the push that our government made to make sure that we were being educated to stay ahead. And that is something now that has changed. And you're right. There is a lot going on in everybody's lives right now. It can be challenging just to put food on the table and have a roof over your head. That may not be your primary concern. And I get that. So understanding how the government working, that may not be the priority the school system has when they're trying to teach you basic math, especially after COVID, when all the test scores really started falling down. There's been a real change to how kids learn and approach school. It's very different now. We kind of alluded to it before with AI. Who's even doing the work? There's going to have to be a change in the approach on how to educate our children, because how do you ask a kid to write a report like they used to have us do when we go down to the library and pull out the Encyclopedia Britannica,
I was
I
doing
mean, I don't know what you would
scrolls.
do.
I was still, it was
Yeah, you
scroll.
would
It was
just
scrolls.
throw like carrier pigeons or something,
Yeah, it was.
whatever they had. Now you can't even tell if the kid wrote the paper or not because that's how good AI is, and so
Absolutely.
they've got to really change. But at the same time,
And the problem is,
well, there should be some level of excitement for the fact that children aren't going to necessarily waste a lot of time learning some of that stuff when we could learn better ways to teach, faster ways to get access to information and knowledge. We don't know what that's going to look like. We don't know how they're going to react to it. And we all cringe because that's not how we did it.
Mhm.
But
I
because
just,
that's not how we did it.
I don't know.
That's just not how we did it. But we used to only sail boats
Uh,
across large bodies of water,
that's true.
and then
That's
people
true.
started flying, and we didn't like that.
I don't know.
So there's this.
I hear what you're saying. I don't know how you do foundational knowledge that builds. So here's something
I'm
fascinating.
guessing the
I'm
first
gonna
person.
go ahead.
I'm just guessing that the people who sailed the ocean blue in 1492 couldn't fathom how I could go to sleep on one side of the world and wake up on another side of the world
Yeah.
later that same day.
I hear what you're saying, and this will play out. But here I'm going to make comment about from a process standpoint internally. We started out talking about projection, and we have ranged far, far afield from the topic. And here we sit back to AI, which tells me that it is significantly sitting in our subconscious and finds new and interesting ways to pop out. But we're in neck deep now on this topic, so let's follow it through, and we'll do a bonus episode and actually talk about projection.
Well, here's the thing is that we've talked about projection. We have only touched the surface
We have.
of it.
Yeah, and I would like to talk more about it.
We will. The problem with this topic is that we can't talk about it and do any justice to it in 1 hour.
No,
As
no,
far as
no.
it applies to the presidency in this way, we would fail. It would be really bad. I think
Wouldn't
we
be
would
the
be
first
left.
time
We would.
we have
Yeah.
failed.
Well, we're gonna fail anyway. I'm intentionally, I guess, at this point,
Wouldn't be
not
the first time
diving into
today
these
that I
type of.
failed, by the way. I mean,
That's true. That's true. But
no, with
just
a
the fact is, like, we've touched on part one
we have.
of projection.
Okay, we'll come
I
back
would
to it.
say at minimum there's probably four, but we could probably fit.
Okay. So here's my worry with what you've just said. Like basically, hey, don't bother learning to write. Don't bother learning to research. It's not necessary anymore. You just go to ChatGPT, to Grok 3, a Microsoft Copilot, Gemini, whichever one you like, and it will do the research for you. And it really will. It will do the research for you. And actually, it will draw some interesting conclusions. However, it can't present you with data that has not already been documented. If we're going to survive the AI apocalypse, it will be in our ability to develop new things that aren't on the internet for these AIs to suck up and process. And I don't know how we do that unless you have foundational knowledge. You can't one day just discover something about astrophysics if you have not learned math, if you have not learned the basics. It's a building process. And I'm sure there's probably some geniuses out there who just come out of the womb knowing this. It's not most of us, certainly. And one of the powerful things for me in the process of learning anything has been the 10 or 15 or 20 ideas that pop out from the process of trying to learn a thing. And that's the part that I'm concerned about, is that I feel like we're living the movie Wall-E, and we're all going to be in floating chairs, 200 to 300 pounds overweight, drinking smoothies. It scares me, probably because I'm 90 and new things scare me.
Your heart can't take your heart can't take
It
that
can't.
kind of weight.
It really can't.
So if we're going to be afraid and we're going to want to draw a parallel, then let's do it to the Matrix, because that's way more fun and scary. And who says we're not already doing that?
I believe the
But
probabilities
hear
on
me out.
that is that it's almost 100%. It's damn close to 100% that we actually are living in a simulation right now. We're either the first iteration of sentient beings, or we're the last iteration of sentient beings. And anything in between that, we're living a simulation.
Hear me out on why AI could be, not going to say is, but could be a useful tool for kids as they go along. One, it's already there, so they're going to have access to it. To say no, stay away from it is not going to work. So you're not going to prevent them from using it. I think giving them the tools on how to understand how it works, because I think most people don't really understand how a large language model spits out the answers that it gives you. Teaching them how it works, how it finds the answers, teaching them how to use it, how to get better answers, how to question those answers, but most importantly, how to derive wonder and interest from that. Because educationally, not everybody likes the same stuff. Right now, or at least the way that we've been doing education for the longest time, has been take everybody, put them into the same curriculum, and make everybody learn the exact same thing, and reward those who are really good at being generalists and punish those who are not. Where AI and being in a system where you are making it easier for educators to think outside of that box and to really find the areas where the individual can find that thing that really draws the thing out of them, makes them want to learn more, makes them really interested in the different topics. That to me is the game changer and helps not just one kid or a couple, but a lot of them. Yeah, you're gonna have the old school slackers who just didn't want to do things, but I've certainly met very intelligent people who were just really bad or just weren't very good at a couple of subjects and just were not successful in school because of that, even though they were very intelligent. And so they weren't able to succeed. Having a system that can do what we can't, which is teach at that individual level to everybody to find their thing, where you set up the assignment, you ask the questions, you go find the answers. And when you're not satisfied with that answer, you keep looking and you go down those different rabbit holes and you find that is going to change that game. I think it's going to be a game changer for all those kids.
Well, I'm all for finding joy and wonder in the learning process. And I'm going to fall back to a quote from the great
Drink time.
philosophic movie Jurassic Park. Life will always find a way. We're going to navigate this.
Yes, we will. Of course we will. We are the most adaptable species outside of like the cockroach, I think. Like we are everywhere.
We are.
There's no reason for us to be the dominant species on this planet except for our adaptability.
Indeed.
I said prefrontal cortex before. That is it.
Absolutely.
We are not faster than anything. We cannot fly. We can't breathe underwater. We freeze to death when it's even a little bit cold. We get too hot all the time. We complain endlessly if the air isn't perfect. And yet we are on every single continent. We have absolutely dominated this whole planet for no other reason than the fact that we are so freaking adaptable.
Yeah.
There are a couple of other things that we can get into, but it is that adaptability. And we keep making tools to make us that much lazier, but that much more adaptable. I don't think AI will be the thing that puts us into space drinking shakes. I do think it could be the thing that has us, living in the Matrix, but who doesn't want to be a battery for a bunch of evil robots that look like
it feels
glial cells,
well,
right?
Yeah, and I do not believe that AI is gonna take over the world, and maybe that's just wishful thinking. I think that our sentience is unique and required for the world to progress. I don't think a reasonable AI, let's say they gain sentience, would even think to do away with us. It wouldn't be a thing that would make sense to them in the context of the progression of this world. Completely different topic, different episode, projection.
It was fun.
Yeah. Except our tens of listeners right now are like,
Really
WTF, man,
confused.
I really tuned in for this and I got that. And I think we need to do better than that. Bush League. This divergence
Well,
was
I
Bush
think
League.
okay, but I think we were projecting our fears of change,
Yeah,
and so I'll tie it back. But that is the theme of all of this.
it has been.
The
8
premise
episodes
of
in,
the
what we
show,
keep coming back to is
it's
AI.
the projection lends itself to grandiosity. It lends itself to cognitive dissonance.
Dissonance, challenges with ego integrity, maintaining a sense of
It
your own persona. Yes.
it will absolutely tie into conspiracy theories. It ties into disappointment. It ties into all these things. Again, could not hit them all in one episode.
No,
And so you got a taste
we'll
of
do
hope
future. We've got
for the
future
future. But we
episodes.
will. We'll do another we will. We'll do another one and it will come out a couple of days later. So
Yeah.
we'll have one. I do have a
Prescription?
prescription
No kidding.
that we can use.
Okay.
Yeah. Are you ready?
Hit me with it. I mean, I'm
Okay.
expecting ridiculous. Go for it.
Oh, it's not.
Oh, son of a bitch.
I'm sorry. But
It seems like it
we
was
can
so
do it. We
dense.
can do a ridiculous.
I needed the ridiculous, but yes, hit me with.
We'll do a real one and then we can do
I've got one too, but
um
go.
okay. So for the actual prescription, one of the key factors that plays into unrealistic projections that we play onto the presidency, whether it's the positive projections or even negative projections, is the fact that sometimes we don't fully understand what the roles are in the government. And so the prescription is take some time to familiarize yourself with the roles of government, not just the presidency, but the roles of the legislative branch, the roles of the judiciary, the roles of your local government. Understand how your government works. As a citizen of our country, we're not always expected to know these things, but hey, I'm going to throw it back to AI. Ask the question. Just go to ChatGPT, go to Grok 4 actually.
Oh, was it 4?
Go to 4.
Mm.
Go to Copilot.
It doesn't like Jewish people, apparently.
I
Man, it
I
was
okay.
it
I
was
don't know.
something.
Yeah.
It was something
Oy
in the
vey.
news.
Yeah.
It
Was
was
it? I don't know.
it was
Oh.
something in the news. Somebody
Oh.
manipulated. I mean, that's the thing about AI. You can hedge your questions in a certain way in
Yeah.
order to get
Yeah.
to zone it into and it got it to a very anti-Semitic place.
Anti-Semitic effective. Okay, well, without getting AI to an anti-Semitic place,
Just ask
uh,
about the government, man. Yeah.
just ask the basic questions about the government. And if you learn something about how the different roles of the government, even about your local government, it's always beneficial to just have that understanding of whose job it is to do the certain things. Because you might just wonder whose role is it to make sure that there is a stop sign here when it gets knocked out by somebody who's had a couple of bourbons and being irresponsible. Whose role is it to go
And
back in and
and
make sure that
living in
that's
their
there?
garage.
That's all. So take it.
So,
So
all
that's our
right. I've got a prescription too, then, and it's more on the individual level. Not that yours wasn't, but so I'm going to request our tens of listeners to, and even one day, if we have thousands of listeners, I will still reference them as tens of listeners because I find it funny. I'm going to request that the next time that you are highly annoyed by another human, the next time you want to criticize another human, prior to opening your mouth, ask yourself, what is it about them that reminds me of me? If you can tolerate the anxiety of facing our human imperfections, which we all are rife with, you might find that your tendency toward criticism of others reduces dramatically.
Yes.
I mean, I spend an entire episode wanting to criticize David, and then I ask, what is it about him? And it's his stupid face. That's what it is. And then I look at myself in the corner and I think, you've got a stupid face. That's what's going on here.
That is deep.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Yeah, take your
Yeah.
stupid face inside. Don't live in the garage. That's horrible.
Yeah. All right. All right. I've got
All right.
here's the silly prescription.
Oh, shit. There's another. Here it comes, folks. Brace yourselves.
I got it. All right. Maybe it's real. I don't know. Listen, the next time, and you just really need to write this down, but the next time that you catch yourself thinking,
write this down.
write it down in your dream book,
Right.
in your diary, Rob.
Van Wilder.
The next time you think that a politician can solve a problem of yours, I want you to ask yourself, could this politician fix my Wi-Fi first?
I thought you were going
If they
to
can't,
say punch yourself in the nuts. If next
no,
time.
don't punch yourself in the nuts. I want you to ask yourself that first. I want you to write that down. I want you to write down, could this politician get my router working again when it goes down? Because the answer is no, they fucking can't.
No.
And if they can't fix your fucking router when it goes down, they cannot solve your fucking problems, because the truth is they're just human like everyone else, and they can't solve shit. They're politicians. You know what they're good at? Telling you that they can solve your problems.
Yep.
But I guarantee you have them walk in your house and say, my Wi-Fi doesn't work. Can you fix it? And what they will tell you is reboot it. Like, that's about it. So they can't fix anything. Like,
That's what I'd tell them.
so write that down.
Unplug it and plug it back in. You know,
Unplug it.
here's the challenge though. And this is the dissonance that I experience when we're talking about this, is that it is their job to fix things. That is the job. And maybe more to the point, their job is to steer the ship in a safe way until we get to an area in which we can turn safely. That's the issue. They're promising huge turns in a ship the size of the United States. It's not credible. And when you start to buy into the incredible, it is a short trip between believing in the absurd, being convinced to do horrible things.
But that's just it. It's not their job to fix anything. It is their job to lead. It is a bunch of other people's jobs to fix things. They're not fixing anything. They're not going to fix your clogged toilet. So when you think they're going to fix all my problems, no, they're not. Their job, as you said, is to steer the ship. Military analogy. You're not going to turn an aircraft carrier around on a dime. That would be bad. It takes a while for it to turn around.
It does.
Otherwise,
there's some downstream consequences to those hard turns in a carrier.
Yes. But also, I can tell you, having been in situations like that, you didn't go to the captain and ask him to unclog the goddamn toilet. He couldn't do it. He would have no idea what the fuck you were talking about.
Yeah.
So you don't expect him to do it. In fact, you didn't even ask him to turn the damn ship around because he didn't know how to do it. It wasn't him turning the ship. It was somebody else. So if the captain of an aircraft carrier can't turn a ship,
always comes back to your roots, doesn't it?
It does, but those are my roots. If they can't do that, then don't expect.
You adorable little sailor, you.
That's right.
In your little sailor short pants.
I had them.
I know.
That's right.
Yeah. All right. Hey, there is no way you're editing this down to an hour. I think it's time to
all right.
To call it.
Well, for those of you who stuck around through,
bless your heart.
What started off as projection and ended up in some weird conversation about AI. I don't know what the hell we're going to call it, but we'll call it something.
David's cute little navy outfit.
just picture my tan short Bud's pants.
Hey, I did not appreciate the Navy until I met David. I will shout out to the Navy. Never been in the Navy. But I am going to do a shout out to the Navy, and I'm going to say they do a very challenging job in projecting power around the world in a dangerous environment that you gotta fight the ship, and people die every year just maintaining their position on a ship.
The ship's no joke, man.
The ship's trying to kill you constantly.
The ship is trying to kill you. Yeah, it's not a luxury cruise.
It wants to kill other people, and if it has to kill you, fine, we're good.
It might, yeah. No, it took me a while to want to be on a ship again.
Yeah,
but I love the days, and I cherish those memories. Thank you for hanging around, everybody.
God bless
socials
you.
at shrinkthenation.com.
Send
us some questions. We will answer them. Smash that subscribe button on wherever you're getting this from.
Leave a review and a comment. That's my request for anyone who listens. Leave a review and a comment, please. Help us out here, folks. We want to know.
Let us grow.
We want to know.
It does matter.
It does.
It does matter. Yeah, let us know what we could be doing better. Well, we are actively trying to do better. We will have another episode coming out
where we'll cover the topic. Actually,
we will cover more of the topic than we did. We will dive even deeper. That is
I don't think we can go deeper than FD. We went to FDR.
We have deeper.
That's deep.
We started with FDR.
We did.
We started with FDR, but we will go into deeper parts. So
Okay.
thank you, everybody. We're queuing up the music.
Cue it
I
up.
hear it now. I hear it. All right.
All right.
And
we're out.
Till next time.